Hello everyone, Trevor G. Blake from trevorgblake.com. When I was growing up, my mother used to say all the time, when I would ask her for advice, she would say, if you want to learn to cook, go talk to a chef, not a food critic. And basically meaning there are so many people willing to give advice who don't know what they're talking about, that you need to go and find people who do know what they're talking about. And that profound wisdom always stuck in my head. And one of the reasons I think was at the time, and when I was a teenager, my father was unemployed, but he kept starting new businesses and failing at new businesses all my teenage life. And it's not a negative story, because I was able to observe the mistakes he made, particularly with cash flow management. And that's really helped me. If he hadn't made those mistakes, I might not be the successful entrepreneur that I am today. So I'm very grateful. But he did start and fail at a number of businesses. And one of those businesses, he started a mortgage advisory service, like a brokerage. And I was surprised because we'd never had a mortgage. We'd been evicted 3 times for non-payment of rent. We were always in rent arrears. We'd always rented a place. And yet there he was. He knew finance, he thought, and so he was set up a mortgage brokerage, and he was advising people on how to get a mortgage and how to refinance. And it confused me. And I remember asking my mum about it, and she said that thing, that's people for you. She said, people are usually naive, and your dad's charming, and he's a good salesman, he's got good patter, and people will believe what they see and what they hear. That's your dad for you. And not surprisingly, the mortgage brokerage failed after just a few months, but not before several people had put their money into it and refinanced their vehicles and their houses and got into terrible financial difficulties as a result of the advice that they were given. It wasn't done maliciously. But at the time, I was around 15, 16 years old, I was really shocked about how naive people could be, because I wouldn't take my dad's advice, because I'd check his background, and all you have to do is go and check out where he lives, check out the address for the business, and you'd see that it was a ramshackle old farm with a roof with holes in it. It wasn't the iconic image you have of somebody who's a successful financial advisor. But nobody checked his background. They just took him at his word because he was very good at salesmanship. Now you fast forward about 30 years, and now I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a more successful entrepreneur than I would have been because of the advice that I was able to observe in both my mother and my father's lives. And I give them credit for everything that I've been able to achieve in my life completely. After I sold my first company, I wrote my first book called 3 Simple Steps. And in doing that, I entered what I consider to be a fairly murky world of the personal development industry. I'm not a big fan of it. And why? Because, make no mistake, there is a lot of murkiness there. See, the US business census shows that 96% of all management consulting companies make less than $50,000 a year. Well, that's not the American dream, so how are they advising on the American dream? See, when I pick up a book in a bookstore, in the good days when we could get into bookstores, I check out the background of the author before I purchase that book. I'm not just going to buy it because it has a fancy color and I like how it sounds. I want advice from somebody who's been there and done that. Practical, pragmatic advice. I want tools and techniques that are going to make a difference, not just somebody, throwing axioms at me to make me feel better about the life I have. And if you look at the self-help book category and the course category and personal development categories and stuff like that, there's some shocking statistics. People spend billions every year on it. It's a massive industry. But here's one that I really have trouble getting my arms around. Last year, there were 85,000 new book titles in the category of personal development. 85,000. And yet in the whole world, there are only 2,755 billionaires. 85,000 new titles. It's really hard to fight your way through all of that and decide, okay, which are the ones who know what they're talking about? And I'll take that advice. But you can do it if you answer one simple question, and that is, what has the person given the advice achieved before they gave the advice, before the book caught on, or before the course caught on, or before digital marketing managed to go viral for them, or before their book landed in Oprah Winfrey's lap? What have they done before that? And if you can find somebody who's had what you consider to be success before that, then that's something worth investigating further. And so I encourage you to go to trevorgblake.com and check out my backstory, because my tagline is that this is something different. So what's different? It's authentic. I need all the tools and techniques that I teach as much as anybody, because I have as many flaws and hang-ups as anybody else. I have achieved significant success both as an entrepreneur and a writer before I dared to do what I'm doing now and try to tell you that there's techniques, and programs and ways of getting out of the quicksand and becoming all you can be. TrevorGBlake.com. Thank you.